Welcome to the Mortgage Pro Podcast. Education, inspiration, motivation and implementation.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the Mortgage Pro Podcast, and today we are joined by a guest, so you haven't just got to listen to my stupid voice for a change. We are joined by Helen Pritchard.
Hello.
So I know Helen because she runs numerous LinkedIn challenges and is known as a little bit of a LinkedIn expert when it comes to social media. But Helen, do you want to do a little bit of an introduction to yourself and the audience and tell them who you are?
Okay, so there's people who don't know who I am. A, where have you been? And B, I'm I'm Helen Pritchard. My business is called Helen Pritchard Online. Probably most famous for helping people get leads from LinkedIn. However, I'm not a LinkedIn trainer. I don't want to be tarred with that brush. I'm a business owner who's used LinkedIn to generate leads for my own businesses over the last 10 to 15 years. And now, the last 3 years, I've been teaching people how to do it for their businesses. So any business, whether it's B2B, B2C, whether you're like brand new, whether you've been going for years, whether you're a big multi-million pound conglomerate, whether you're a brand new freelancer or independent just starting out. Weirdly, and we'll talk about this in a bit, I seem to have found a process or a system or a method or whatever you want to call it for using LinkedIn, which is the least sexy platform obviously of them all, but for using it for generating lots of inbound inquiries from ideal clients without having to spend any money or send any direct messages. So funnily, it's not what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I'll take it. So yeah, it works really well for me because it works really well for everyone else. So pretty simple.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one thing I can certainly say since starting this podcast and coaching and mentoring mortgage advisors. You're no good unless your clients say how good you are at the end of the day, because it's the results that they get that really prove you're good. You said one thing there that I'm quite interested in, you don't want to be tarred with the brush of being a LinkedIn trainer. Why is that?
Well, have you met any other LinkedIn trainers?
I haven't, unfortunately. You're the only one I know, so you're obviously doing something right.
It's just because the thing is with the way I teach LinkedIn is it's basics. It's fundamental business basics. Wrap them up in a LinkedIn bow because people want something to hang their hat on. So people hang their hat on LinkedIn with me, and I do, and I have in the last 3 years, definitely. However, there's so many people out there that will teach you every little nuance of LinkedIn. They'll teach you, or they'll think they can teach you about things like the algorithm, they'll give you like best times to post, how many words to use, how long your video should be, how to use groups, how to use company pages, all that kind of stuff to me is utter bollocks, like totally irrelevant. It's the way I teach it is just how can we do the minimum possible required on the platform to generate the maximum return on our time investment. And that's because I'm not an expert on LinkedIn per se. I'm just an expert on marketing and using LinkedIn in a way that just makes perfect sense. But I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I found this completely by accident. I invented it completely. I just completely made it up. I've never had any training on LinkedIn. I've never had any interactions with LinkedIn themselves. In fact, LinkedIn won't even give me LinkedIn Live because I teach people how to use LinkedIn to generate leads. And what they want is for people to spend money on LinkedIn. So they want people to be buying all the packages. They want people to be spending money on ads. So someone like me coming along saying, oh, well, if you just do this, this, and this, like literally 3 things a day, takes you half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, then people will come to you and want to work with you. That's kind of going against what LinkedIn really want to hear. So I kind of have to lay a little bit low. Also, every other LinkedIn person that I've met, actually, there's a couple of exceptions I can think of now who I think are pretty cool people. But everyone else that I've met has been, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. The way that I teach people to do stuff is totally against the way everyone else seems to teach people how to use LinkedIn. So therefore, again, I just don't want to be in that category. Yeah, I'm too cool for that.
And exactly, I can completely attest to that. So I've done loads of podcasts around building a personal brand and attracting the right type of client, using attraction-based marketing. And it is that, what you teach is what I've done with mortgages for 4 years. And that's why we're busier than ever. So I completely get it. Yeah. But let's go back to, you said there you're an expert on marketing. Actually, one of the other things you said, which I thought was really good, was the fact of utilizing the least amount of time to get pretty much the biggest bang for your buck. Basically. I think that's a method for business.
Exactly, right.
So
do the minimum possible to get the maximum return. It just makes sense. The thing is,
100%.
lots of people make things really complicated, and LinkedIn's a good example of this. So what will happen is people who want to sell you solutions on anything really, but particularly on LinkedIn, obviously because that's my world, they make things so complicated, and they give you they can tell you they're going to give you all the hints and the tips and like the little tricks and the shortcuts and all this kind of stuff. But actually they make things really complicated so they can charge you a premium to try and demystify it. Whereas I charge an absolute premium, but the reason why is because I make things really simple. Yeah. And it's like, the biggest problem I have is getting people to believe me that it's that easy, because they're like, oh no, it's got to be like, it's really complicated or really hard, I've got to do this, got to do that, whereas actually my business is I sell money, so I show people how to make money really quickly, or as quickly as possible, whatever their industry is, and I show them how to get money in the bank. That's what it's about for me. So I don't really give a shit about the algorithm. I don't care about how many times you should post a day or all this or that. What I care about is it generating leads which are then giving you money? If it is, then it's working. And if it's not, then it's not. So it's not about, oh, Helen's the best LinkedIn trainer in the world. It's about, oh, Helen helped me take my kids on holiday for the first time. Helen helped me, be able to sleep at night. Helen helped me, have real confidence in my business model and know that it works, and stop trying to change all the different moving parts, because the actual problem I had was I didn't have enough leads. So that's what I sell, really, not LinkedIn.
100%. And that's where I think quite a lot of business owners make the mistake of thinking that they sell lead generation or marketing or coaching or mentoring or mortgages, where actually it's not. It's the outcome that you're selling.
Exactly. Mortgage is a great example. People don't want a mortgage, do they? They want the feeling they get when the mate walks in and goes, wow, look at, this house is amazing, and what that house says about them and all the rest of it. That has nothing to do with interest rates, and that's the last thing they care about, right?
Exactly. Well, I know that from the conversations we've had. No one cares about it.
Nobody cares about mortgages, Gary. Sorry, that's the but that's the truth. No one cares about LinkedIn.
Exactly.
No one cares about me. No, people, that's one of the things I try and tell people all the time, because people get so hung up on, oh, well, what will people think? What will people say or do, if I post this many times, or if I put this stuff out there, especially on LinkedIn, where it's like my old colleagues and stuff. And it's like, hey, I'm really sorry, to break this to you. And I've said this to some of probably the biggest names that we both know, particularly one that we both know. Yeah. I'm really sorry to break this to you, but no one gives a shit about you or your business or what you've done or what you might do or what you want to do. They care about themselves and their problems and what's going on in their world. And fundamentally, that's all of my stuff's about. It's like, how can we show people how we can help them, rather than talking about how great we are, because no one really cares.
Yeah, 100%. So taking it back to kind of being a LinkedIn expert and focusing down on that, you've had your best year in business this year, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've had my best year in life this year, and I do think the two are definitely correlated. So yes, I've had a fantastic year this year. So I've run businesses before. I had a digital agency before this. I started off as a social media freelancer, went into the agency model, worked in recruitment actually. We used to do Facebook ads for recruitment, so quite niche, quite specialist. And then I started to talk to people about LinkedIn. As my agency was going all right, like we had some big names that all come to us, and what happened is people used to say to me when I used to go to network and stuff, oh, like how come you're working with, like we work with people like Eddie Stobart, Lakeland Plastics, like XPO Logistics, and big.
What year was
brands.
this roughly?
So this would have been 2015, 2016. Okay. And so people used to say to me when I go to events, how did you land that client, basically? And I'd say, they came to me, like the HR director approached me on LinkedIn, and they'd be like, what? That doesn't happen. I was like, oh no, yeah, it happens all the time for me. People approach me all the time on LinkedIn saying, oh, I've seen your stuff, looks like you could help us, how does this work? And that's how all my sales have always come about. I've just gone along to meetings, and they've already known who I am, what I do, what I offer, how much I charge, all that. They know all that from my marketing. So when I get there, they're like, it's like a really simple process. So when I tell people this, they'd be like, no, LinkedIn, you don't get leads from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's where you go if you want a job, or LinkedIn's where I've not even looked at my LinkedIn for years. Like, how do you generate businesses from that? We're in the entrepreneurial space now. So why would we go on LinkedIn? Because it's like really boring and dusty and corporate and all that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, no, seriously, mate. Like, so I'd get like I'd normally be in a restaurant of some kind. So I'd get like a napkin and a pen, and I'd draw out what is now my my model, I guess. So I'd be like, all right, so this is what you need to do for your profile. You need these things, and this is how you should write your headline. And if you put this kind of content out, and then you engage with your audience, and then you add new people every day, then over time you build this ecosystem of just your ideal clients. So at that point, it's HR director, and they'd be like, yeah. And then I'd see them again. They'd be like, oh, Helen, guess what? I'd be like, what? I only got a lead. I'm like, yeah, I know. And they'd be like, no, you don't understand. Like, I've never had it. And I'm like, no, that's just keep doing that. That's it. And they'd be like, that's it? And I'm like, yeah. And they'd be like, oh. And it's only like, I'm a businesswoman, I'm not stupid. Like, after a while, I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because I knew it worked for me. And I never even thought about how other people use LinkedIn. And then when I started to teach people, started off for free, and it always worked, no matter who they were or what the business was. I was like, oh, this is actually something. Ironically, because I teach how to niche really hard, and this is, but my thing is literally for everyone. It seems to work for everyone. I started teaching people like one-to-one in my spare time, because I wanted to raise a couple of grand to do my patio. So my ex-husband was a builder. He left the house in somewhat disarray. So I wanted to get the patio done, raise a couple of grand. So I thought, if I charge £100, I'll do it over Zoom. I'll show people how to do it. And then I did hundreds of those one-to-one hours. Then started to build out into doing a group I set fire to the agency. I built out a group program, as you've probably seen, the LinkedIn Mastermind. And then I started to grow it. Now, that was only 3 years ago. So I'd done all right in business. I was, had a decent turnover, but running an agency is very people heavy. So I was never really making that much money. But this is a digital business now, so totally different. And I just love it. And then so over the last couple of years, my first year, I think I did about 60, 70 grand or something. And then I did 200K on the second year, which was like, wow, it's more money than I've ever seen, fantastic. Yep. And then the beginning of this year, 2019, I said, I want to make $1 million this year. That's my goal. And like, even as I was saying it in January, I was like, I feel sick. That seems like a ridiculous jump, But I could see how it might work, and we'd really sort of grown the business up and brought on teams and systems and all that jazz, and doing all that good stuff. Started running these challenges, which we talked about, which we'll probably talk about later. These free challenges, which were off the scale, like absolutely amazing. We're converting like crazy as well. So I thought, well, why not? And so we put plans in place to do it. And then in October, we did it. So it was just bizarre. It was kind of like the more I talked about it, the more inevitable it became. Yes. I was at my mastermind and just come back from that in Colombia. And they started handing out champagne, like pink champagne. And I was like, we don't normally do this. We're not, what are we doing this for? And, and they said, just to celebrate your £1 million year. And I was like, oh, yeah.
So it took you 10 months?
So when we got to October, it was 12 months from that date that we'd done $1 million in turnover. So, I mean, I have to caveat, obviously it's turnover, not a profit, turnover sanity, profit sanity. If one person says that to me, I might punch them in the face. It's just like, yes, I know, I've been in business a long time. I'm not stupid, including the man who looked on Company's House and Google mapped my house and went on Zoopla and said, your house doesn't look like the sort of house a millionaire would live in. I was like, wow, that's a lot better. I was like, okay, yeah, so you're a business coach and you don't seem to understand, the difference between profit, turnover and profit. But also, because of the way my business model works, most people pay over 12 months. So that isn't even money in the bank, $1 million. That is £1 million in sales revenue, in a 12-month period. So, but it counts. It still
definitely
counts.
It still all counts. Bringing the work in progress at the end of the day, and that counts, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the target this year is like 4.8. So we should do well over 2 million in net profit. So once I've done that, I can be even more smug on LinkedIn.
So 2020, you're going to 4.8.
4.8 is the target, which I said to Phil, my ops director. I was like, that sounds like 5 to me.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, 4.8. Three from the mastermind, and then we've got some other things coming in this year, which I could possibly talk about, but you'd be getting the exclusive, but possibly talk about.
Nice. So I want to unpick your business a little bit, because I think we often see, for example, you see the iceberg on social media where it's like all the hard work goes on underneath the sea, and you hear about these overnight successes, but you don't actually see the stuff that's gone on behind. So just to give people a bit of a context, when did you start your digital agency?
Right. Okay. So this story, I've told a million times, but
sorry.
I still like, no. But the thing is, every time I tell it, it seems to land. So I like telling it. And in fact, when I do the challenges, someone will always ask me, and I'll literally when I'm doing a live with wine, I'll sit down and I'll go through this whole story. And I think it's quite important to keep telling it. And I know we're kind of sick of the whole, I was really skint and now I'm not kind of program. But actually, I think it's really important. So my story is, very briefly, I'll give you the briefest synopsis of like school to when I started my business. So I got moved up a year at school. So for some whatever reason, they decided that, I moved up a year at primary school. So then I just stayed a year ahead of everyone else because I got 4 older sisters. I could read all right by the time I started primary school. So I got moved up a year. So it was 10 when I started high school. That created, I didn't know it was unusual. Obviously, it is quite unusual. It would probably never happen now. Created some level of interest, should we say. School, I was okay. I was pretty bright, so I did all right. But then, got to teenage years, ended up pissing off the wrong people, ended up getting really quite severely bullied. So I was getting bullied every day. It was really grim. We didn't have social media then, which was nice. But it was still, spitting at you, making up names about you, like writing letters about you and spitting in it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why that was their MO, but anyway, it was, making up songs about you, just really, really difficult. So if anyone's ever been bullied, you'll know exactly how that feels. That sick feeling in your stomach's a bit like the sick feeling when you're really skint. It's like, I don't want to go to school or work in some cases. So that was pretty grim, but instead of dealing with it, I then reacted by going off the rails like you do. I got an older boyfriend. It was the early 90s. It was lots of fun. Got into the whole house music scene or the rave scene, if you like. Did a lot of clubbing in my day in the 90s. Lots of clubbing in the Northwest. Partly because of that, partly because of the bullying. Ended up having a breakdown when I was 16, 17. Had really bad anxiety, panic attacks. Ended up in the private hospital for my 17th birthday, which was fun. Got some good stories from there. And then when I left there, so I got to a point where I couldn't leave the house, basically. So my mental health was really severe. My mental health issues were really severe. Couldn't leave the house. Was totally crippled with anxiety, panic attacks, for whatever reason. The Priory was great in terms of it helped me get back to functioning. Then went on my whole spiritual journey, the holistic thing. Got married, met a guy, got married, mad young. I was like 23 or something when I got married. He was a builder. We settled in, I had 2 children quite young. So I had my girls at 25, 27. And then we were living in this kind of domestic suburban, he was a builder. I was doing a bit of reflexology. So I used to be a maternity reflexologist. So I had my own kind of business then, doing a bit of part-time work. And then we went into the recession. So the children were sort of under 5. Went into the recession 2007, 8, 9. It probably hit us really badly about 2009. Building business collapsed. Our marriage collapsed. We had a lot of personal debt. So these were the days of the self-cert, Gary. Do you remember these?
Yeah, of course.
So you basically, a guy would come and sit in your house and be like, how much do you want to borrow? And you'd be like, 100
Sign this piece of paper, job done.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, so you need to say you're earning this, this, and this. Yeah, sign there. We were like, oh, yeah, great. Also, the days of, shit, I've got no money, log on to internet banking. I remember this really clearly, Barclays. And it was like, do you want 25 grand? And I was like, yes. So I clicked a button and they were like, click this next button. Didn't read that bit. Click that. And then it's like, it'll be in your account in 3 hours. And you're like, fuck, that was easy. Yeah. And also the days of 0% credit cards. So we'd just be like running up credit cards here and there and everywhere. Not living some flash lifestyle, just trying to live a lifestyle that we just couldn't afford because we just weren't earning any money. And we had 2 small children. It makes me laugh, the amount of debt that we ran up. I think we ended up, and I say we, it was definitely both of us. Mainly, a lot of it was for just general living, and a lot of it was to shore up his building business, because we had lads that were working for us, and we used to pay them out of our own money instead of the business, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were young and stupid, really. Yeah. But I think we ended up in about 90 grand worth of debt, personal debt, all signed for by me. When we split, it was kind of like, oh, sorry about that, but I'm off. And I was kind of like, oh shit. So we nearly got the house repossessed. My mental health was suffering again.
What year are we at roughly?
So this is 2010, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I started doing a little bit of social media, but I was just looking around at my life thinking, oh, fuck, this is like, it was just like the burning inferno. So I had 2 kids under 5, single mum, about 90 grand worth of personal debt. My uncle had to buy my house back off me. And that was one of the things that we've been talking about, Gary. Buy my house to stop it getting repossessed and rent it back to me so I could stay there. You know, he also had to help me with some of the finance. It was just, you know, if anyone's ever been in debt, like, honestly, I feel you. It's just the worst thing. Well, it's not, because you got your health, but you don't, when you're in it, you don't see it like that. It's really, I can see why people get really, really affected mentally by it. It's endless when you've got people ringing you endlessly, you've got, you know, debt collectors, you've got this, that, it's just, it's horrible. And not everyone's as lucky as me. Not everyone has a you know, financially sound and supportive family. But still, to be 30, single mum, loads of debt, no money for anything, no real, like, no qualifications. Because although I did go back to college, I dropped out of uni. You know, I wasn't very well, but also I met a boy who had Sierra Cosworth, and I thought that was a better thing to do than, you know, hang around at uni getting degrees and stuff. You know, so no real qualifications. Never had a job that had paid me more than 20 grand. I was like, oh shit. You know, and you're like, oh, this is not good. What am I going to do? Now, I'd done a bit of social media for people through my own sort of bricks and mortar businesses. I'd really got into the marketing side of things and understood how that worked. I'd also had a failed business, which everyone always likes to hear about, called New Stock Times, which is a baby massage DVD, which I thought I was going to make millions and millions of pounds out of. I absolutely did not. So in my defence, I was probably 10 years ahead of myself in terms of downloads off the internet, and instead people wanted to buy the DVD off Amazon, which is a really, really difficult business to make remotely profitable. But anyway, I'd love the social media side of that. And people had asked me to help them with theirs. So I started off, what am I going to do? Looking at my life, I've got no money to do anything. So I'm like, right, I'm going to be a social media manager. I've got no money for anything. So I can't, so something like networking, I can't go to it because I can't afford it. It's like a £5 or whatever, and that's money for me and the kids. You know, at this point, I've got my dad taking me food shopping. So it's like not my finest hour. And I'm like, please can I have that bottle of wine, Dad? He's like, fine. So I've got no money, can't afford to go to anything. I've got no confidence, which I know seems weird now, but like there's no way I could have stood in front of a group of people, you know, and no confidence. My mental health was really, really struggling again. And logistically, I couldn't get to anything. So I've got these 2 beautiful children who I loved early, obviously. But I can't go to something at 7 a.m. Like, you're off your tits if you think most women with children can get to something like that. It's just not happening. Anyway, so also I've got a driving phobia, so I can't drive anywhere. So I'm just kind of like, Helen, what are you going to do? Because you've got to look at, seriously, you're a grown woman, you've got these children to protect. And there's something about being in the shit like that now when I meet people who are there, I love it. Like, they're my people because I know I can help them. But B, I know they've got that drive.
Yeah.
There's something about it is you've got your back to the wall, your feet in the fire, and you're like, I either use this adversity as a catalyst to actually do something, or I use it as an excuse to just go to pieces. And that was quite tempting. You know, traditionally, that's what I'd done mentally. But I was like, I can't do that. I've got 2 children, you know, I've got, you know, this is the rest of my life. I'm 30 years old. So I've looked at, that's when LinkedIn came into my life. So I always call it, it's like my knight in shining armor. Because
what year are we at now?
So this is 2010, 2011. This is all happening in the same time.
A short space of time.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm in the shit. I need to get myself out of the shit. This is what I'm going to do. So LinkedIn came along and I looked at it and I thought, well, this makes sense because A, it's free. B, I can do it from home. C, all my ideal clients seem to be on there because I knew that. Again, this forms the basis of all the stuff that I teach now. So I didn't think I want to be a multimillionaire business owner. That was not my thought. My thought was I need to earn $2.5 grand a month to make sure that I can pay my bills and I can look after my children. And that was it. That was the extent of my goals. It was like, I need $2.5 grand a month to survive. Well, more than survive, to thrive and, you know, to have a nice life, right? So what I'm going to do, and it still blows my mind that people don't think like this. So this is how I thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 10 clients that I like, that like me, that I can keep hold of, that I know I can give a service to, and I'm going to charge them £250 a month. And that's it. And again, that was the basis of my whole strategy. It's like, I'm just going to sell one thing to one person at one price. There's going to be no negotiation. There's going to be no packages. There's going to be nothing, right? And that's kind of how I set out to use LinkedIn. And I set LinkedIn up, and I knew who my ideal client was. And I knew who they was because I knew that they were ideal for me, not for everybody, but just for me. So I wanted to work with men in the 50s who got bricks and mortar businesses in Warrington, which is where I live, who knew they needed to do something with social media, but didn't want to learn about it, didn't want to do it themselves, wanted to just pass it all off to somebody who knew what they were doing, but wanted to have a working relationship that was like just two mates. That's kind of what I wanted, and that's what I decided I was going to get, and that's what I set my whole business up to do. So I wrote my whole LinkedIn profile for them. So I mapped him out. I drew him out. Didn't know this guy. You know, I made him up completely. Like, he's Dave. He's 55. You know, he's got a shop in town. He hears about social media. Doesn't want anything to do with it. He wants to go down the pub. He wants to play golf. He wants to be with his mates. He just doesn't want his competitor getting ahead of him, and that's all he's bothered about. He doesn't care what I'm doing. He just knows that he wants to know it's handled, and he's happy to pay that money. And that was it. And I've sort of created this guy, and this forms all my ICA work, ideal client avatar work now. So I drew him out. I give him my life, give him my wife, give him a hobbies and a lifestyle and a personality, and made him the ideal person for me, because I knew I could sell to Dave. Frankly, I knew Dave would buy from me. I knew I could sell a million things to a million different other people as well. But I thought, actually, I just want 10 Daves in my life, because that's going to make my life easy. So that's what I did. And I wrote my whole LinkedIn profile for this guy, and it was just literally, my headline was helping small business owners in Warrington. So super niche, small business owners in Warrington, sell more and look better on social media. And then fence posts, as you probably see if you've seen any of my stuff, £250 package, Facebook and Twitter. That's where we're at these days.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then my whole profile was written for Dave, not about me. So I didn't put, I've worked in a warehouse, or I've done this, I've worked in sales support, I've worked in marketing. All I put was, are you a small business owner in Warrington? Do you feel frustrated that other people are doing social media? Blah, blah, blah. And exactly how I teach it today. If so, I can help. I'm a small business owner just like you. My package is £250. Drop me a message. And then I went and connected with all the Daves I could find. So I only connected with small business owners in Warrington. Went and found them all, asked them all to connect. The rest is history. They all start coming to me then. They're like, oh, hi, Helen. I saw your profile. It's exactly what we need. We've been looking for someone to do this. You seem like a normal person. Where do we sign, basically? So suddenly I wasn't selling. I was just saying yes or no to people. And I got my 10 clients and, earned my money. And then the thing was, that saved me in that I didn't have to go back to work. I could stay at home with my children. I wasn't spending any money, but I was making money. I was working from home. It was really simple and easy work, which I enjoyed. And the clients were great. And I really enjoyed working with them. Some of them are still friends now. And then when my business changed, I just changed the bits in that template. When we started to run the agency, and we were running a much bigger agency, I got offices, I got staff. We were doing this really fancy stuff, actually, which I think was, again, a bit ahead of the curve. We used to do Facebook ads this was when Facebook ads came out. So Facebook ads for recruitment. So people who were big businesses who were struggling to recruit at volume, we'd run Facebook ads in the area they wanted to recruit, and get them to go through a process that was like really simple. So they could apply with like a couple of clicks, basically, generating inbound leads for recruitment, basically. And that cut out the whole need for recruiters, for job boards, and, they were getting really good candidates. And then we charged £3,000 a month. So we worked with HR directors, and I literally just changed my LinkedIn profile to say, helping HR directors recruit better people faster using Facebook ads. And then in my fence posts, it said £3,000 a month. So again, I was just putting it out there. I was like, this is what it is. This is how much it is. No negotiation. I've never negotiated or been negotiated with in my life. Well, people have tried. So there's never any negotiation. There's never any moment, and a lot of my corporate clients love this, is that there was never a moment where you walked into reception and was like, oh, it's £5,000 for these guys. Because they're a household name. It was just always £3,000, and it was always paid up front. And there was never, I remember being in a meeting with Eddie Stobarts. They were like, oh, we've got 120-day payment terms. I was like, oh, okay, right, bye then. I was just like, oh, right, we get paid up front. And they were like, no, we pay. And I was like, oh yeah, no, we pay up front. And then I just silence, and it all went a bit awkward. And then they kind of whispered with each other, and then they went, we could pay on a credit card. I was like, great, fantastic, let's start, we can get started. So I don't know, maybe it comes across as arrogance, but it was just total confidence that more leads were always coming. So I went from being very anxious and very stressed about everything, money, kids, myself, everything, going to bed every night terrified, to suddenly going to bed every night thinking, well, I know where. It's all right, more work's coming. So it gave me this air of like, this is it, take it or leave it. I'd love to work with you. If not for you, then that's fine. No negotiation, which I think was quite unusual in the corporate world. People used to be a bit, really? And I'd be like, yeah, it's £3,000 for everyone. And, no one ever put the prices out there. It was all very cloak and dagger and loads of meetings about meetings. And I was like, no, this is it, So I think that made me, when I came to teach LinkedIn for lead gen, I was like, listen, I know this stuff works because it's worked for me, and I've worked with hundreds of people now one-to-one, and it's working for them. So my business model is now very simple again. And I think this is one of the things that I try and teach people. It's like, if you keep things really simple, it makes things really easy for everybody, for you and them. So my business model now, whereas the agent's model was very complicated and convoluted in terms of delivery.
How many people did you have in the agency?
So we got up to about 9 or 10 staff at one point.
Yeah.
And it just highlighted all of my weaknesses all at once. I hated having to go to an office every day. Ironically, now I love going to the office every day. It's only me in it. I've got a pool table in it and a sofa and a bar. I love it. But, I hated having to go to work. I hated being the boss. I love being the boss, but I hated being a boss in that office environment.
A manager.
Manager, yeah. A people manager.
Oh.
Useless at that. Leading a team, fine. I used to hate it. I'd be like, how can I tell them they've got to be in at 9 when I can't be asked getting in until 10 most days? Because that's just the way that, and it's kind of like, it just didn't make any sense. I hated it. I took on an investor. It was a complete disaster. Absolute nightmare. My uncle had to bail me out again. But yeah, I just looked at it. I looked around at it, and I was just really unhappy. Really, really unhappy. I had to have things like accident books.
Big expenses as well, I can imagine.
Massive expenses. Yeah. And the thing is, people, it's a job, so they're like, yeah, well, I get paid to do a job, and I'm doing my job, and that's it. And just the agency model itself, I think, is broken. A very, very wise man once said to me, no one gets rich from agencies. And I was like, what? I'm doing 30K a month. And then now I still meet up with him, and he's cool. He's a very wealthy man. I was like, you're right. Nobody really gets rich from agencies because of the model. The more clients you get, the more staff you need, the more stress you have. It just becomes like, yes, you can build and sell, but it's difficult because your relationships are normally with you and that kind of stuff. And I felt just trapped in it. I was very, very, very unhappy. And it became pretty unprofitable, to be honest. I think we probably made a loss. In fact, if you look at Companies House, which I'm sure some people do, I think there's definitely years where we've, on paper, made I think we did a 40K loss one year and this, that, and the other. It's just difficult, difficult cash flow wise. Anyway, this model I'm in now, really simple. And again, people seem to be a bit irritated by the fact there's not loads of different ways to work with me. The amount of times I say no to people, because people want to work with me direct, and I just don't do it. So when our friend Rob Moore's ringing me saying, how do we, and I'm like, we don't, Rob. And he's like, what? And I'm like, we don't. There's no consultancy model in my business anymore. There used to be. I used to charge £5,000 a day to go into a business. And again, frustrating because I know I can help people. I know I can help people at every level, whether it's, I used to do workshops and do big multinational corporates, big CEOs, big offices, overlooking, they did this one in Cardiff, and it was overlooking the water, and I was like, how can you work in here? It's so high up, it's making me dizzy. So I've done all that. I can do that. I can just turn up, get paid £5,000. It's easy money. I can do it in my sleep. But I don't, because my business model is simple. There's only one thing you can buy from me, and that is And the one thing you can buy for LinkedIn, and that is you have to join the mastermind. So all roads lead to the mastermind. And that makes my business really simple, but also super profitable, because the mastermind is a fixed cost for me to deliver. So my run cost, probably last time I looked, which isn't very often, as often as my FD would like, were about 30 grand a month. So I've still got a high run rate, but that's people to make the machine work. If that makes sense. None of them sit in my office. They all make the machine work. But, we do consistent 80 to 100K months. So it's great. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. And the reason why I love it as much as I do is, yes, it's given me more money than I've ever seen. Yes, it means I can pay myself 10 grand a month, which you'd think you'd never be able to spend. But funnily enough, I seem to manage to. A lot of it on stuff on Instagram that I definitely don't need.
We're all guilty of that.
I know,
Instagram, Amazon, eBay, anyone who makes things quicker makes it easier. Makes it easier to buy.
That's my top tip for anyone in e-com. If I can't buy from my bed, if I've got to get up and find my CCV, forget it. So when people moan about PayPal, I'm like, get PayPal on everything. Because as soon as someone like me or Gary see that PayPal button, we're like, yay, I only need to press one button and you can send that tat from China direct to my house. Fantastic. So there's definitely a lesson there for people. Make it easy for people to buy. But so 10 grand a month, it's like crazy money. That's after that's in my bank. So I don't even know how much that equates to. Like, that's about £250,000 salary or something stupid. It's like money I have never seen before, Harry. And it's fantastic. But you know what I love about it the most is, and I know people will be rolling their eyes, is the fact that I'm having this huge impact on people. People are just like me 10 years ago. And that's, we know this in the team. We talk about this all the time. Everything we do is 10 years ago me, 10 years ago Helen. So it's for people who are in the shit. And now I have a profitable, sustainable, predictable business. And that's important to note for anyone who's building businesses. Until I had that, I didn't do any of these things. Got to save yourself first. You've got to make money first. That's when I was going out and doing workshops and things like that. But when I had a predictable business and I knew I had X amount of money coming in each month, then I did things like started my free Facebook group. Then once that got to 5,000 or 6,000, I think, then I started to do free 5-day challenges. Now, ironically, the 5-day challenge is what's exploded my business, because suddenly I'm exposed to 2,000 plus people a quarter, 4,000 people a quarter, because we do 2 challenges a quarter, and 10% of those people buy, and my product is £1,500. So you do the maths, on every challenge we get about 2,000 people in, between 9 and 11 buy the mastermind. The mastermind is £1,500. So it becomes very predictable. It becomes about numbers. However, my proudest thing, and this isn't bullshit, this is the absolute truth, my proudest thing about my business is the 90% of people who don't buy. And the reason why lots of people don't buy, so there's 5 to 10% of people who hate me, which is fine. Yeah, we can talk about haters. But there's a big percentage in the middle who would love to buy from me but can't afford to. But they get enough from me, from the 5-day challenge, from the endless Q&As I do in the evenings, the Lives with Wine, from my free things that you can get in my free group, which basically give you all of my training. If you can be bothered to get it all, watch all the lives, make all the notes, piece it all together, you've got more than enough to go and get money, make money now, and then some of those people, percentage again, will come and buy from me in the future, but percentage, and some of them message me, they'll never buy from me because they don't need to. They've got enough. I've had people, VAs, who've done my 5-day challenge and completely filled their client roster. They don't need to do the mastermind. They've got it. It's that simple. People do the mastermind because they want more of me.
Yep.
And that's brilliant. And, they become into a closed group. So we've got that kind of stuff. So the mastermind is still loads of value, of course, and it's still well worth the money. In fact, it's worth probably 3 times the money. But the biggest thing that makes me sleep so beautifully at night on my, my new bed and all the lovely things that I've got from running this business is the fact that I've helped so many people get out of the shit, and I know that because they tell me, and that is really why I do what I do. If you just meet me online, you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, she's all about money, I love money, I love money. Money loves me. I've got an excellent money mindset. I love talking about money. I've got no shame around money. You know, I think money's energy. I welcome it in, and I love the fact that I take it in and I use that to create more impact and more people who then go and, you know, make more money. So it's like a really good energy flow. I'm pretty spiritual as well. It's like high energy, high vibrational money, the money I earn, because it's earned in a beautiful way, and doing stuff that I love with people that I love, you know, having impact on the world. Whereas toxic money, which I did a call about this, it's on YouTube, you can find it with Gul Khan. Toxic money is that low vibrational money that you earn by doing stuff you don't really want to do with people you don't really like, and you can earn it, but you almost like want to get rid of it because it's like, this doesn't feel nice. Whereas, but the thing is, all these people that I help, and they message me all the time. And you might be forgiven for thinking, oh, that's kind of what I'm about. And I am about making people do the work. And I am about having like the real tough love thing. And it is pretty brutal because I know what needs to be done to get the results that I've got. And I want people to, not everyone wants to be a millionaire, obviously, but I want people to at least get to that first stage where they don't have to worry about money. That's really important to me. It's my number one thing. Particularly women, particularly single mums, you know, you can't help but gravitate to helping. You know, they're just your tribe, you know. But I really do give a shit. I really, really do care. And people quite often don't see that until maybe they come into a challenge or they work with me, like in the mastermind. I do care. I genuinely do. And nothing makes me more mad than people that buy the course and don't do the work. Or you want to see, if you join the mastermind, you can get access to some of the calls. And on a whim, I put a post in the mastermind group which said, who's not made their money back yet? Right, so it's 1,500 quid. I expect people to make their money back and then some, and then some. Everyone gets into the mastermind for at least a year for the 1,500 quid. So you get 4 rounds of it. So you can change and evolve and grow, but you've got to make your money back. And so I put this post out. I got loads of comments, loads of people who I'd not even heard of. So I've got 1,000 people in the mastermind. I've not made my money back yet. I was like, brilliant. I'm going to Bali. When I come back, let's do a call. Let's do a webinar, and let's see what's going on. Because my stuff's guaranteed to work if you do the work. And so I thought, this is great. And everyone was like, oh my God, I've never known a course owner or whatever actually ask that question, never mind care about the outcome, you know. And I was like, oh no, I'm fuming. Like, this is really important to me. So there's about 5 hours of recordings. We had to keep cutting them short, where basically I've gone through that thread in one hand, if you like, and I'm on a call live and I'm going through on my phone the LinkedIn. So the thing is about my stuff, if you've not done it, I can see. So I'm going through and I'm like, okay, Emma, where are you, Emma? And she's like going, hi. And I'm like, hi, Emma. Cool. So you've not made your money back. Right. So what is it you do again? Because this is not what we've taught, you know. And she'd be like, yeah, I know. I just couldn't really decide on one thing. And I was like, cool. Right. So if you decide blah, blah, blah. And then she'd be like, oh, right. And then she'd be doing a headline. And I was like, oh, yeah. So of the 4 pillars of content. So there's 4 pillars of content that I teach, which are stories, long form stories, video, social proof, and call to action. So call to action is, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how much it is, which people are terrified of putting out on social media, which I find ridiculous, because that's what it's there for. We're there to make money.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're doing the first 3, then actually you're adding value 3 times and you're only pitching once. So you're only pitching 25% of the posts you're putting out. So it's logical. Exactly. It is logical.
You know, it's the Gary Vee model. It's the jab, 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 right hook. But it's so important that people actually do that 4th thing. And so what I'd get, so by the end of this, so I've done 2 hours of shouting at people basically, and I'm fucking brutal. I'm like, doesn't make my life any better or worse if you don't do the work, but it makes yours fucking shit if you don't do the work. You've invested £1,500 and you're not doing the work, you're not getting the results, and you're hurt. It's like self-harming. Like, stop it. Just do the work. I've given you the keys to the castle. And I was like, you can see it. I'm like really pissed off. And I'm like, if I see any of you in anyone else's groups, right, asking any questions about ideal client, about what your offer should be, about what your pricing should be, about how you should, I'd be like, I am going to rain holy hell on you, because all you're doing is just procrastinating. You're just going off like, oh, I'm just going to follow this person now. I was like, you paid me the money, you do the work, and you don't leave this group and go anywhere else until you've done the work. And they were like, okay. But the simple question is.
But people need a lot of that.
They do.
Tough love.
It's tough love, yeah, and it is done absolutely with love because, again, it's not going to make my life much different. But it's them. I'm like, come on, you owe it to yourself. And a lot of this stuff is mindset, but it's practical. So I know by the end of the 2 hours, I'm like, right, where's Dave? Hi, Dave. Dave's like, hi, Helen. Right, so which of the 4 aren't you doing? And that's it. It's simple. Either people aren't clear on the offer, or they're trying to be too many things, too many people, which is the most common thing I say. They just won't pick something.
Yep.
And then it's like, which of those 4 pillars of content, which one aren't you doing? Because there's always one. It's either usually video or call to action.
Comes back to the same thing with mortgages, without a shadow of a doubt, though. Just a reference. I think your story is amazing as well, by the way, but equally, it resonates so much with me because I started my business in 2016 and I diversified into life insurance because of the credit crunch. I was buying leads from third-party companies, so I had no control over who I was dealing with, what I was doing. I built a business with a team that I hated because I felt trapped and because I'm not a manager of people, and I think that's a skill in itself.
Yeah.
But then those lead suppliers started to sell them to 3 people, so my profit was disappearing.
Yeah.
Equally, I was dealing with people that I didn't like, and then miraculously, because we had a good year, I found the self-employed niche in 2015.
Nice.
And that's when I decided to downsize from the 12 till 3, started again, saw Jamie Alderton and found Dan Meredith and learned about social media and just started to do the things that you're talking about.
Yeah. We're all banging the same drum, really. Yeah. It doesn't really matter who, me and Dan are pretty good mates, or very good mates, I suppose. So it doesn't really matter. And the same with so many people in the niche of it doesn't really matter whether it's LinkedIn, mortgages, Dan stuff. It doesn't really matter. The thing is, it's the same thing. Just make it easier. Be easy. So easy for people to buy. This is why LinkedIn is such a good platform for me, because I force people to, with the headline. So, the headline is XYZ, achieve XYZ by XYZ. Yeah. That is not, I get a lot of stick for that on LinkedIn. It's everyone's really boring. So it's you don't really understand the work that goes into it. The reason why it's a template is because those moving parts, they're the result of doing the work. So really understanding who is my ideal client, what is my niche, what's my offer and how much is it, and how many of those things do I need to sell to hit my targets, and it's reverse engineering your business that way, rather than most people, and me included when I started out, you just think, I just need to make some money. Definitely. I've got a skill, I'm going to sell it and make some money. So when I do reflexology, I charge 40 quid an hour, but even then, I trained in everything. So I could do reflexology, I can do massage, I can do Indian head, I can do all the usual things that a holistic therapist can do. However, what I did is I said, I'm a maternity reflexologist. So my specialty is helping women who are trying for babies or who are pregnant. So that was my niche. So it was almost even then, back then, this is 2007, I still understood the importance of a niche. So whereas all the other holistic therapists in my area, and there were tons, were all charging £30 an hour, and they all had these big long price lists. I'm a maternity reflexologist. I help women who are trying for babies or who are pregnant, and that was my niche. And therefore, people used to travel for miles, Manchester, around to come and see me because I was the specialist. Because that was what I was doing all day. I was treating these eggs on legs. It was great. I loved it. Helping them with the babies. And I charged £40 an hour because I was a specialist, not a generalist. Yep. It was easy for me to find clients. I could go to mum and baby groups rather than, and it was just, to me, and I guess that's it. It's we have to remember this obviously comes naturally to me and not to everyone else. But agreed. I think it's so simple. It's let's make business really simple and stop making it so bloody complicated. I mean, big business is complicated. Running £1 million business is complicated. I have an operations director, Phil, who just saved my life. I've got a team of people. I've got systems. I've got SOPs.
So how many people are on the team now?
So there's kind of 2 tiers to the team. So the core team, I'd say there's 5 or 6 of us. Yeah. The main one being Phil. So Phil's my ops director. So he came from the fitness niche, actually. The Fit Pro niche, Phil Harrison. And he came on board to help me with the 5-day challenges. And now he's operations director and a big part of the business. because he's the yin to my yang, which he hates me saying that. But whereas I'm front of house, got no organisation skills whatsoever, can't do any admin at all, no good at people. Is that really noisy? Next door's just
no, it's all right.
He's all systems, data, ads, stuff. So we work really well together. So, but then I've got VAs. I've got 2 VAs. I've got 3 VAs now. And then we've got other people. We've got finance people. We've got content writers. We've got Georgina does all my content writing now. We've got so many people I forget. We do. Then the second tier is ambassadors. So I have a team of ambassadors, and 4 of them are my official coaches as well. So they're sort of part of the team as well.
Yeah. So I'm really intrigued with because I know booking this podcast, for example, it was literally just a case of you let everybody else almost control you to a degree, don't you? So
absolutely, yeah. So there's things there's the only things that I do in the business are things that need me.
Yep.
And that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So podcasts. So I've done about 300 odd podcasts now. So podcasts and guest experts, I have to do them, obviously. And Facebook Lives, I have to do. And anything in the groups that needs me, video needs me, I do. Everything else, someone else does. Now, I'm going to be a bit sexist here, but I'm going to say that women, particularly single mums, have a to-do list that's as long as your arm, right? So my thing is to outsource everything that doesn't require me at home as well. So I don't do anything. So arranging a podcast. So I messaged you this morning because I was running late. So that obviously I'll do that. I could have messaged Lisa, but that probably would have taken 2 steps.
Twice as long, yeah.
Yeah. However, you doing this podcast today. So bear in mind, I do like maybe 10 on an average week, something like that. If I organise them all myself, that would take up loads of time. So it's just about scale. So yeah, we could have organised this direct, but it makes more sense for Lisa to do it. Same, and Lisa, and this is a tip for people who have a VA, they'll do all your personal stuff as well. So for example, I've just been to Colombia, I've come back, my nails need doing, it's Christmas, fucking nightmare, trying to get my nails done, my usual place, all booked up. I said, I just text Lisa, I was like, I need to get my nails done. So then Lisa spends all day ringing around. She then rings my original nail woman and speaks to her directly and begs her, who then says she can squeeze me in on Friday morning. So I know I've got to get my nails done, but I don't want to spend all day running around doing it. So obviously I pay Lisa to do it instead. Loads of things like that. So she organises all my appointments, all the kids' appointments for like doctors, dentists, like my hair, all that kind of stuff Lisa does as well. It's just
So one of the things that I know will be going through mortgage brokers in particular who listen to this, and other business owners who listen to this, and even watching this on YouTube, will be very much a case of, yeah, but I'm not making enough money to support my own lifestyle yet. So how can I outsource those lower value things? Because I'm not going to have the money to pay Lisa or a VA in order to be able to go and make more money.
Yeah, well, first thing I'd say is you'd be amazed how much a VA can do in an hour. Amazed. Much more than you can do when you're trying to do things here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, exactly. And also, they're just much more efficient. So think about, all right, maybe, your average mortgage broker is not worried about getting the nails done before Christmas. But let's say arranging your calls. So another thing that I don't do is I don't look at emails. Can you imagine how much time that's taken off me? And headspace, yeah? Some people are like, oh no, I'm going to get to inbox 0. You're not. You're never going to do it. You're never going to unsubscribe to all those things. You could get a VA to do that for you, or you could just get a VA to look at your emails every day. So what I get is a message off Lisa every morning that says, important emails, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Yeah, I get about 300 emails a day. Bear in mind, old stuff I sign up for that I buy online as well. So that alone, so can you afford somebody to look at it, watch your emails for you? Yes or no? If you've got absolutely no money, no, you can't. However, I would suggest that you buy 4 hours off a VA, and this is what I teach VAs as well, just to do a 4-hour block. Costs you £100. I don't know anything about hiring VAs from abroad, so I can only talk about them in the UK. Just transferred £8,999 into my other bank account. Fantastic. That's off film because we've got a side project. Now I'll talk about that in a minute. So that's £9,000 I earned while I was in bed. Anyway, so buy a VA for 100 quid, 4 hours, and just let them loose. Just say, look, just talk to them and talk about the things that really do snag up your time. And I think booking appointments in your diary is one of them. I don't know how. Yeah, exactly. So if you've got, say, 5 calls to make, give VA to arrange them with the person, put them in your diary, put the number in your diary. So all you have to do is click on it in your iPhone and it'll start ringing them. That alone, so you don't have to go and look at your email and find the number and type the number in. It's going to save you so much time. The thing is to outsource. I would sacrifice something in my personal life to hire a VA in my business life. And I tell you why, because I'm going to be able to make more money from using. So if I invest 100 quid in a VA, I should be able to go and make £1,000 in that time. So it's an absolute no-brainer. And the thing is, so I would start, if I was really skin, I would make sure I didn't have things like, I know this is a cliche, but, Sky TV, eating out, going out drinking, doing all that kind of stuff. I would stop that and save 100 quid in a month, and I would invest it in a VA in my business, because I should be able to turn that 100 quid into £1,000 easy, which gives me a £900 profit, which then I can then invest back into going out and having a good time or whatever I want to do with it. But you've got to outsource just before you can quite afford it, to allow you to give you the time to go and make the money back, and also put yourself under a little bit of pressure. I'm obviously not a fan of putting yourself into math, but a little bit of pressure of like, I've got to make this work, to then
be able to
go and make that money. So VAs, I think, are an essential for every single business. Honestly, try one. You'd be amazed. It just makes things so much easier. But yeah, I outsource every last little thing. There's some more money coming in. Thank you. Thanks, babe. Every last little thing in my life. So, and this triggers a load of people, but I love talking about it because I want to pave the way for people, men and women, not just women, to do this in their lives, because it's brilliant. Right, so in my business, I don't do anything apart from the stuff that needs me. So I don't look, someone manages my whole diary, someone manages all my emails, someone arranges everything for me, so I don't have to worry about it. I also have someone who arranges all of my personal appointments and reminds me about things. Yeah? So when it's things like, so my daughter has to go to hospital every couple of weeks, she's got a problem with her skin. So I need to make sure that I've got that in my diary, but also Lisa needs to remind me to organise the blood tests, things like that. So she will put that in her diary and remind me. That takes off such a lot of thing out of my headspace, if that makes sense. Because it's not so straightforward as just putting it in my diary. I've got to go to places and stuff like that. So that alone. I also don't clean my own car. So I have my car valeted every couple of weeks. It costs like 30 quid. And that, from a headspace point of view, every time I get in my car, it's no stress. It's beautiful. I never have that moment, because I'm naturally messy. I never have that moment where someone gets in my car and I go, oh, excuse the mess. They always get in the car. I'm like, oh, your car looks nice. It's beautiful. So that alone, from a headspace point of view, everything, your head should be as clear as possible to do the things that you need to do. Earn money and be present with your family or your friends or whatever. Right, so valeting my car, game changer. Yeah, because I hate going to the car wash. I'm never going to clean the inside out. It was being done once every 6 months. It was a massive operation. Hated it. Now, I don't even think about it. There we go. Like Helen, 1, car, 0. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cleaning, please. Men, women, families, single men, single women, please get a cleaner. You are not adding any value to your life or to your business or to your clients or to your family and friends by cleaning your own toilet. You're just not. And loads of women triggered by this. They're like, oh no, I like to do my own cleaning. It relaxes me. And I call bullshit. You just feel weird and guilty about someone else doing it, especially if you're like not earning loads of money. Trust me, cleaner, definitely. That's a definite, one of the first things you should do. I don't do my own laundry. So I have a laundry service. This is great as well. When you come back from holiday, you take your suitcase to the woman in the shop. She takes it off you, washes it, folds it, puts it back in the suitcase. And it costs about 20 quid. It's like, what? So every Friday, I've got 2 girls, 2 teenagers. Everything's always covered in makeup, fake tan. Pile everything, including mine. Pile everything, all the dirty washing in, take it down to the dead nice woman, pick it all up again on a Tuesday. Cost me about 20 quid. It's a no-brainer, because what used to happen is I'm just about to have hopefully with Gary's help, put in an extension on my house. One of the extensions is going to be a utility room. My mum was like, what are you going to put in there? Like, she's not going to do any washing.
One of the kids.
And one of my kids went, a wine fridge. I was like, brilliant. Brilliant. You know, so my laundry, it's like 20 quid a week. This isn't like Victoria Beckham stuff. This is available to everybody. I think people just don't think about it. But think about all those days where you've got washing everywhere, all weekend spent washing, drying, ironing. Like, it's just no, don't do that. What else do I do? I have a chauffeur. Again, a chauffeur. God, Helen's got up herself, hasn't she, since she last, she was scraping around getting her dad to buy shopping. Right, a chauffeur sounds well fancy, right? A chauffeur to the airport is about £30 return more than a taxi, right? A taxi's dirty and smelly and horrible. They're always late. They don't really speak to you. They don't know you, don't care who you are, drop you off outside, and then when you want to come back, you have to go and find them, yeah? Not the nicest experience when you're going away. A chauffeur, you know them because they do. Well, I know my chauffeur my chauffeurs
use them a lot.
They use them a lot. They text you, they come to your house, you're in a lovely car, you've got a bottle of water, they know you, they take your bag to the thing. When you come out, they're waiting for you in reception or whatever it's called, arrivals. They take your bag, they know you, they know when to shut up, they know when you want to talk, they know, when we go to events, they know to get me. I love this combo.
Diva.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to this awards which I won, if you know Gary, went to this award, so I took 10 of my mates, they got put a bus on for us, and I said, instead of Prosecco, can we have champagne? And he said, yeah, of course. Anything in particular? I was like, I'm not fussy, as long as it's Helen P. Rosé. So we go to the awards, they turn up, we're all suited and booted, they're there waiting, they're always suited and booted, they're pouring champagne while we're waiting, it's just a different experience that makes everything so much nicer. And it just makes life easier and more fun. And what it means is, by outsourcing all this stuff, I have someone arranging my travel, Paula Hardman, if anyone wants to use her, she's absolutely fantastic. She's a travel consultant. I travel internationally 1 million times a year, so Paula sorts all that out. Again, it doesn't cost me anything to use Paula, but from a headspace point of view, she knows my dietary, she knows where I like to sit on the plane, she knows it's just so much easier. She does all the checking in for me. It's just, everything's designed to make my life as easy as possible. So now I'm in a position where I can go and make £5 million next year because, I tell you why, because I've got all the time and the headspace in the world to go and do it, to think about my business strategically and do what I need to do. And that, I think, a lot of people come up to me and say, oh, you're an inspiration. But hopefully the inspiring thing about me is that anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I mean, look at me. I can't even, I'm late for everything. I was late for this. I'm totally disorganized. I'm winging it every day with everything. I've got no real skill. I've got no qualifications. If I can do it, literally anybody can do it. We live in this time, this intersection of technology and opportunity where anybody with a phone and a certain level of skill and experience, as long as you're 3 steps ahead of somebody, can build a business exactly like this. And there's nothing that's the inspiring thing about me, because there's nothing particularly special about me. But yeah, it's exciting, it's fun. But I think the whole outsourcing things and being really, really ruthless with your outsourcing on every level, home and business, that I think is the game changer when people start to build businesses and become the CEO of your business rather than grafting away, which I did do for the first couple of years, obviously.
I think that's the important thing, though. You say there's nothing, there's nothing major about you or anything else, but I think the major thing about you is, 1, you're an action taker. 2, you know your own strengths and weaknesses. And 3, you're not afraid to delegate your weaknesses, which enables you to action more. And I hear a lot of mortgage brokers and business owners saying, I just don't have the time. And I cry bullshit on that, because it's the fact that you're not creating the time. You're not leveraging the lower tasks. We've all got the same amount of hours in the diary as Jeff Bezos, as Tony Robbins, as anyone who's at the top of their game in their industry. You know, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, you can name after name after name. But the one thing they understand is what is their superpower, and they get everybody else to do everything else, allowing their brain space, even to the point of Steve Jobs, who wore the same outfits and had exactly the same things in the wardrobe because it saves brain space for the more important tasks.
Absolutely.
That's obviously what you're clearly good at.
Yeah, and it is. It's about being ruthless as well. I'm always looking for what else can I outsource? You know, what else can I do? Because my job now, which is mad, is, and this is one reason why I travel the world, I go to masterminds and things like that. My job is to think of the year after next, as well as next year. So my job is to think strategically. That's my superpower. And it's not a luxury, it's essential for the business that I have the space and time to do that. So when it looks like, you know, oh, she's going to Bali, or she's going to Vegas, she's going to wherever, part of that is because getting out of my routine, getting out of, you know, being at home, allows me to think differently and puts me in front of different people who do think differently, who, you know, like the plans I've got for the next 12 to 18 months, they're as extreme, if you like, as me saying, after I'd done 200k a year, saying I want to make $1 million. Everything, I said this, like, I'm quoting myself now, which I know is like the first sign of egotistical mania. Is I said to my daughter, so my daughter's 12, she had a really bad time with me going away this time. She got a lot of stuff going on, and she was on the phone, she was crying, and it was horrible. And as a mum, it's, you know, well, as any parent, it's difficult, you know, you're on the other side of the world and all that kind of stuff. And she said, but why, Mum? Why are you on the other side of the world? And I said, do you know why, Megan? I said, because I'm a strong, independent woman who does things other people aren't prepared to do to give us a lifestyle other people don't have. And she was like, yeah, I suppose so. You know, I was like, this is what you have to do. Like, and as a mum of daughters, teenagers now, like, I have to role model that shit. Like, I don't want them staying at home and living a tiny life because they've got children. No, I don't want that for them. So, you know, I've got to model that, even though they don't like it sometimes, of course. But, you know, she's at school, Megan, and she's in a class with her mate, and they're talking about feminism and women and equality and all this kind of stuff. Minefield, if you ask me. But anyway, so they're talking about this at school, and they're saying, well, women, you know, what if women had the same jobs as men, or if more women had these top jobs and this kind of stuff. And so she turns to a friend and she says, what's your mum do? She said, oh, my mum runs a business, and it makes like £1 million a year. And her mate went, yeah, my mum's a zookeeper. And Megan went, no, she does. She actually does, you know. And it's important to role model this stuff for my children, but it's not always easy. Like, it's not always fun being on the other side of the world. Like, as much as Colombia was amazing, it's fantastic. But I have to do that because it's part of my commitment to myself that I won't live a small life, because I used to live the smallest life. Couldn't get out of the house, could I? So like, everything I do is about how can I push the boundaries of my life, doing things I don't want to do. I mean, God, we were in a little minibus going up a ravine thing in Colombia, and there was like a no way through sign and a big pile, and he was like, oh, I'll just drive past it. So we just drove up the side of this lump, and I was like looking down the ravine and, you know, having a panic attack. I'm not had a panic attack for years, you know. But it's about pushing myself all the time, because the thing is with agoraphobia is, as soon as you allow your world to get smaller, even a little bit smaller, that's the beginning. Like, it's always a spiral. It's either your world's expanding or it's contracting. And my life now is about how can I expand my life every day to make sure that it never contracts back again. So maybe I'm driven in a different way than most people. But yeah, I mean, as a mum, I think I've got a duty of care to my girls, to show them what's possible. And it's just a game, isn't it? Life's a game. You know, we live, we die. You know,
exactly.
You've got the same amount of chips on the way in, so you might as well play it.
Make the most of it in the way you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And just enjoy it.
And that's the thing I've done with this podcast, is it's about lessons that I've had speaking to people who inspire me, and I've got good stories. But equally, it's that thing of, you know, you mentioned there about having coaches and mentors and being around the right people. I've done podcast episodes on that stuff. It's about, you know, learning when to say no, understanding all these things about business that when you leave a job, nobody actually teaches you or shows you that. You need to learn this stuff. And you and I both have learned it through trial and error and done it the hard way. But equally, what took, you know, 5 years in your first time round, 10 years in my first time round, we're having more success in half the amount of time. Learned it the hard way. And that's why we're trying to teach other people now to learn vicariously. Don't make the same mistakes we did. Take the lessons and get the fast track to the success.
And I think we live in we're in a world where there's just so much information coming at everyone, and a lot of people that I work with are just feeling completely overwhelmed. Frankly, they're just like, everyone's got a course, everyone's got this, everyone's got that, and it's like, of course, I'm trying to sell you my course, but it's about just picking something and sticking with it. That's the one thing that I'd say, and trying to treat your business like a business. Like, make sure you've got a limited company, you're a director of it, so it becomes something separate to you. And then when you want to do new things, so that text I got about the money that is going into a separate business account, that's because I've got a separate account now for Helen Pritchard Ventures, which is joint ventures that I'm doing with other people. It's outside of the LinkedIn mastermind machine. So I'm separating that off because it's different, and it's almost like motivating for me to see that money going in, because that's a joint venture that I did with Phil, and I had a bit of a dip. Now, I don't really get a mental health dip, so I think I had the virus, but anyway, it's just not really relevant. But I had like a week where I just didn't want to get up, and it's not like me at all. But yeah, that was the week he did his launch and still managed to make $8,000. And it's like, once you understand like leverage and opportunity, see, that opportunity would never have come about if I was day to day in my business every day, would it? I just wouldn't even think like that. The next thing that we're doing is I'm bringing out my own wine like that obviously Gary V's from the wine world, but I don't know many entrepreneurs that bring out their own wine, but my wine is because that's part of my brand. I do live with wines every evening when I do the challenge and that kind of thing. And it's kind of, when I was at the mastermind and it was sort of put on the table, I was like, what have I been waiting for? What have I been waiting for? It makes perfect sense, to bring out a wine that's aimed at entrepreneurs that, are sort of living this lifestyle where, a couple of nights a week, you do want to fall into a glass of wine. I'm not going to be advocating drinking every day, but, there is that element of, when you're an entrepreneur and you're, well, particularly a female entrepreneur and a single mom and all that kind of stuff, it's like, we don't all have to be crafters and, like having these tiny little businesses that are making us a couple of £100 a month. We can go out and make millions of pounds. To me, it seems obvious, but the more people I meet, they're like, not everyone's like you. And I'm like, well, they should be. I want everyone to be like me. Like,
there'll only be a small percentage that want to go that route, but I think everybody else just needs to do exactly what you said at the beginning of this podcast. Make it really easy. Look at how much money they want to make and reverse engineer the numbers on that. It's exactly what I'm telling mortgage brokers to do. It's constantly just look at what's your average deal, how many leads do you need in, how many applications you got to do, how many sales, and just focus on that. And then once you get there, look at the next level, exactly as you've done over the last 4 years, which is truly
layering. Foundational, like foundation's really important. So like a lot of people come to me and they're like, they go to Phil and say, can you Helen me? Like, I want you to do what you've done with Helen. And Phil's like, you go and do the 3 years hard graft that she did organically before I got involved. It's not that easy. There's no real shortcut. But if you just don't focus on like, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, don't focus on, I want to dominate Instagram or I want to dominate. Think exactly like you're saying, make it really simple. Write it down on a piece of paper. How much money do I want to earn? How much money do I need to earn? How much money do I want to earn? How many of my thing do I need to sell to make that? And who do I want to work with? When I do the ideal client avatar work, people fall apart. They're like, I don't want to pick one person. And it's like, listen, guys, this is for you. This is for you. Make your life easier. And then when you have done your ICA work, everything becomes so much easier. You know exactly who you're talking to, and it just becomes just a joy. Marketing becomes a joy rather than an absolute chore, because when you don't know who you're talking to and you don't really know, and you're offering loads of different things, and you're trying to push out a million different messages, it just becomes an absolute overwhelming mess. And I see so many people in that.
Agreed. And I say the same thing. I found self-employed as being my niche, business owners as being my niche. I've built a brand around it and a name around it. And one of my most successful mentees, all he focuses on, all his videos, all he talks about is CIS contractors.
Perfect.
And David has people coming to him from all over the UK. They pay
Yeah.
him more. He does his videos on building sites. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the
Brilliant.
ecosystem of how it all looks
Amazing.
is literally all around that one person. And that's, you know, it's
Great
even more
example.
deeper niche, and it works so well.
Yeah. People are so frightened to pick one. And it's like, bang the drum, you know, the more niche you are, the easier it is to sell and the more money you can make.
Yeah, without doubt.
So banging the same drum, definitely. But it's just transferring that onto LinkedIn. It makes things really, really simple.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of quick fire questions to finish off. So out of interest, how much time do you spend on LinkedIn a day?
So now, honestly, I've only go in there once, if that, a day, to just go and have a look around, see if there's any arguments I can get involved in. I have someone who writes my content for me. So she watches my lives, which I do. Well, I used to do every day on Facebook, but we're in constant contact. So she just creates posts out of my content, which you then copy and paste. I love this. So we copy and paste my daily post from on my personal Facebook, on my business Facebook, and on LinkedIn. And in my LinkedIn marketing group, just copy and paste it every day. The world doesn't stop turning and the sky doesn't fall in. So there's a tip for you. I know every other marketer in the world is like, oh no, you must write different content. I'm like, must you? Really? This is an example of like, you know, what's the minimum effort we can get for maximum return. So I probably pop in there every day. When I was doing it all myself, I was writing my own content. I go in there and do video, obviously. It takes a couple of minutes. I'd probably say I spend about half an hour a day in there, an hour maybe, depending on how. I used to answer all my comments and stuff like that. I don't do that anymore. It's partly conditioning, partly time. I just let the comments run, particularly if it's a big argument. I can't be bothered getting involved in it anymore. I used to.
So mostly one post a day is enough for people on LinkedIn, do you think?
Depends. So again, this is a question there's no definitive answer. I know people want one, but I can't really give one because it depends where you're at. If you've got plenty of leads coming in and you're just looking to establish a presence somewhere else, there once a day is fine. Yeah. If you're like, shit, I've got bailiffs at the door, and if I don't make some sales, I'm not gonna be able to feed my kids, then 4 times a day is fine. 8 times a day. I push people to 8 times a day before now if they're really desperate. The more you post, and yes, it does affect the algorithm. Yes, it does mean that you get slightly less views, but it's not about views. It's not about engagement. It's about money in the bank. So the more you post across all social media platforms, the more money you make. And that is irrefutable. I know it goes against
influencers that I follow and that I teach.
It goes against so many, people don't want to hear that because they want to hear, oh no, it's quality over quantity, write one really good piece and people will want to listen. I call bullshit. It's about being in as many places, as many times as possible, showing up in pretty much the same way, with the same message. Over time, people learn to trust you that you're going to be there and show up for them, and then they'll buy from you. It's almost sometimes irrelevant what you're saying. The point is that you're there and you're consistent. The number one thing you'll hear on LinkedIn or social media in general is, I've been following you for a while. And
I love those messages.
Yeah, exactly. So they're people who never liked, never commented, never shared anything, but they've been watching you and they've been waiting until they're ready. And when they're ready, they reach out to you, and that is a golden lead.
Which is 90% of people anyway online, generally. Yeah. So how often do you go live on Facebook?
So I made a commitment to go live every day, which I have done.
Is that on your page, profile or group?
Personal page. So again, tip, I think, I don't know if it goes with what you say, is, open up your personal profile, get up to 5,000 friends, put content on there every day. And the lives I do on Facebook are not about LinkedIn. They're just about my life, which is weird, but people seem to love it. And then I do a video on LinkedIn. I used to do one every day. Now I do a couple of weeks, something like that.
Is that in your group, is it? Or is that actually part of your profile as well?
On my LinkedIn profile, I do a video, but Facebook lives, I used to do one every day. I'm just stepping back from that because I did it and it gave me the result that I wanted, which was £1 million a year. So now we invest so much more in Facebook advertising that my organic isn't as crucial. So I just show up there when I feel like it, which is nice.
Fair enough. And you obviously had real tough times mindset wise. You've mentioned you're quite spiritual. For anyone else who's kind of going through that, has there been any books, podcasts, things you've done to change that mindset, to become more spiritual, to get a better understanding of yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a voracious reader. I don't really listen to podcasts. as much, which is ironic because I'm on so many of them. But the things that I always talk about is The Big Leap, which is a classic. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I didn't like his new one though, to be fair, but I thought The Big Leap was a really, really good one. Light is the New Black is my favourite book in terms of spirituality. It's by Rebecca Campbell. It's called Light is the New Black, and that's a great book for people who feel like the way that they're showing up isn't quite aligned with who they actually are. That book really helped me move the two closer together, so that the way I show up online is exactly who I am. Probably about 10% more enthusiastic, to be fair. But, this girl's got to, like, rest. And that really helped me come into alignment and just the whole, step into your authentic self. And it sounds like a cliche, but the more me I've been, the more money I've made. So there must be something in it. So Light is the New Black is really good. I really, really like that. All of Rebecca Campbell's stuff I like, actually, from a spiritual point of view. And just some like things like Conversations with God, again, a classic. If you read that book, you're like, oh, suddenly so much makes sense. And from a business perspective, Gary Vee, I mean, he's getting a lot of stick at the moment, but I think he's great. I think he's great. I think he teaches the hustle, and the hustle is real, and the anti-hustle movement is the worst thing ever to happen to business, because suddenly everyone's like taking salt baths in the afternoon and, going and putting their feet in nature, which is great. And I'm a fan of it, but babe, no one's coming to save you. You've got to put that stuff out there. I work a lot with mums, and they say, oh, I want to be present with my children and I want to have the summer holidays off. I'm like, you can't, because you know what? You can't afford to feed them. So, yes.
Harsh but true, yeah.
It's harsh but true. You can't have 6 weeks off. You're living in dreamland. You can't, be present with your children 100% of the time. It just doesn't work like that. That's not life. You've got to make sacrifices now if you want to get the benefits later. There's no like, everything's all right now and forever. It's great now for me. I can be present with my children. One of the reasons I was late this morning, my daughter's ill and she wanted to come get in bed with me. She's 14. That never happens. And it's kind of like, what's more important than Gary's podcast? This 10 minutes with my daughter, so I can do that.
Yeah.
But I also made horrendous sacrifices. I was that mum.
3 years,
Yeah, for years. I was that mum on my phone. Yeah. While the kids are like rolling around in broken glass on the swings. I was that mum getting mum shamed, because I was on my phone constantly. I've probably lost relationships because of it. I've sacrificed loads of time with my children because I was just so focused on building a business. And yes, you can't get the time back. And yes, the time is precious. And yes, money doesn't buy happiness, blah, blah, blah. But you know what makes you really fucking unhappy? Having no money to look after and feed your children. Those precious moments feel a little bit less precious when you've got no home to live in and no food on the table. So, I just think you've got to be realistic and you've got to do the work. But saying that, it's not really hard work. This is what I don't understand about our world. It's like, oh, but it's so hard posting 5 times a day on social media. Is it? Is it though? Is it really? Or are you in a nice warm house posting stuff on social media on your phone? Is it really hard? I've got people who are doctors, got friends who are doctors, teachers, who are carers, who are working in the most horrendous conditions, the most antisocial hours, making life and death decisions every single day, seeing the best and worst of humanity. And we're up in people's Facebook groups moaning because it's hard to post on social media so much. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I'm totally with you.
Yeah, so, I just think it's fun. Enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy the journey, as you said way back when on the podcast anyway.
Yeah, it's a game. Life's a game. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Win
so
it, lose it. It's part of it.
Exactly. So this is the Mortgage Pro podcast.
Yes.
I came up with Pro because for me, it's about perseverance leads to results, which creates opportunities.
Nice. Like what you did, Gary.
But what does Pro mean to you?
Pro means showing up even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That's it.
Nice.
Just relentless consistency wins.
Yeah, perfect. Love that. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us today on the Mortgage Pro podcast. I think we've got loads of little golden nuggets from this episode. Certainly going to be going back and listening through and pulling some of those out myself. But if people want to get involved either in your LinkedIn challenge or find you, how would they best do that? Where would you want to send them?
So I would want to send them. So I don't respond to any direct messages either. That's another thing that I don't do. Shock horror. Yeah. So don't direct message me. Unless it's to say, I think you're amazing. Thanks. I do read those. So what I want you to do is go to my free Facebook group, which is called Helen Pritchard LinkedIn Marketing Group. It's probably like the strictest Facebook group you've ever been in. You can only be in there if you're nice about me. You're only in there if you do as I say. And you're only in there if you want to learn about LinkedIn, but only my way. So it's a complete dictatorship. I did a live with Claire Dowdle about groups. I was like, I don't know why anyone would want to join it. However, but if you do want to learn about LinkedIn and you want to learn about how I teach LinkedIn specifically, then come to the LinkedIn Marketing Group. It is completely free. All my freebies are in there. All my methods in there as well. So all the questions that you probably ever had about LinkedIn are answered in there. And then from there, don't you worry, we will give you an opportunity to go into the 5-day challenge, the January one. When will this come out, Gary?
This will be in January.
So the January challenge you might have missed because it'll be the first week of January, but we're aiming for 5,000 people in that challenge. So it's going to be massive.
Nice. Is that going to be your biggest one yet?
Yeah.
What was your biggest up until now?
I think we had 2,000 in, 2,500 maybe. So it's double. So we're just interviewing for 20 new ambassadors at the moment. But but don't worry because we do 2 challenges a quarter. We do one before the early bird launch and one before the main launch of the mastermind. And then from there you can decide whether you want to come in the mastermind or not. So nice. That's the funnel, if you like.
Yeah.
Go and hang out in the free group because that's where you'll find all my ambassadors are in there, my coaches, thousands of people who've done the challenges as well, who understand how my stuff works. So if you're clever, you can get in there and find out enough so you never have to give me any money, and you can go and make loads of money without me.
And they do say that most of the best people give away their best stuff for free because then it gives that reciprocity that you naturally want to end up paying for the course anyway. So.
That's it. I mean, we didn't touch on haters, but I have lots of haters, and I always say, like, you don't have to like me to leverage me. Like, even if I irritate you massively, go and get all my free stuff and get rich. So you can be either right or you can be rich. It's up to you.
Without a doubt. Well, Helen, thank you very much indeed for your time today. Obviously, I've done your mastermind and would recommend it to absolutely anybody because it does make a big difference. You'll notice on my LinkedIn profile, I've taken the division now of Facebook's always attracted me mortgage clients. It seems to be the best place to do it. But with working with mortgage brokers, I've focused that mostly on LinkedIn. So I've got I help mortgage brokers create more time, freedom and profit, and set my profile up to talk to mortgage brokers about building their business. I've been through it. It does work. I think any mortgage broker listening to this can use it to attract clients, first-time buyers, home movers, buy-to-lets, HMOs. You've just got to be brave enough to actually talk to one person to attract. Yes. Become the go-to guy for that one thing. And, usually it's whatever you were doing before is the easiest option. The thing is, people are like, oh, well, I can sell a mortgage to anybody, or I can, and it's like, yeah, but you only need to make X amount of sales per month. So why not just sell to just one person and make things easy for yourself? Become the go-to guy or girl for this thing. Yeah. And then with LinkedIn, it allows you, it's the only social media that allows you to handpick those people. So you become the go-to person for, I don't know, finance direct, I don't know, like for example, managing director. Yeah. And then you just add those people, or like dentists or something random. Like I would just pick something random, the go-to guy for dentists, and then, well, maybe not dentists because maybe not as active, and then just fill your audience with like 10,000 dentists and talk to them about how you can help them. Just being specific. And I know you know this stuff, Gary, but like it works so well on LinkedIn because you can just handpick the people you want in your audience. So it just makes perfect sense, really. Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Helen. Really appreciate you coming on today. And obviously I'll share it and let you know when it's out so you can do the same. Yes, please. I'm well known for being the most downloaded person on a podcast. So I'll be intrigued to keep your numbers and let you know. Let's see if I can do that for you. Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Thanks very much indeed. All right. Thanks, darling. See you later. Bye. And remember, everyone, now is the time to become pro.